From WBBZ-TV Sports, it's time to beat the champ. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Peck and Sue Novoitsky.
Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to the Halloween weekend edition of Beat the Champ. I'm Paul Peck with Sue Novoitsky, Janelle Sabin, and Janelle's new friend here at Island Lanes in Grand Island.
Yeah, this is, well, he doesn't even have a name yet.
He doesn't have a name yet.
The important part about him being here. Mike Mallwitz is going to be having a competition naming the big pin.
All right, well, how about, Sue, we name the giant pin over whoever wins this week's show?
Okay,
I think calling him Zarcone might actually be kind of funny, don't you think?
We can call him single for single pin, 10 for 10 pin, because we won't see any more of those.
Right, well, Rob Gattis is our returning champion from a week ago. 3 challengers up for him today, including Tom Kress and the legendary Gary Kinyon, along with our buddy Mike Zarcone. So if Rob's going to keep winning, he's going to have to knock a lot more than 1 pin down, isn't he?
Yeah, he'll have to definitely redeem himself, but even though he had a great win with all those strikes, he's going to have a lot of spares this week to make up for it.
So we've had really good first 2 weeks, really interesting matches the first 2 weeks. So let's see what happens. It's a Halloween weekend in Grand Island. Is he going to continue to hang out with you?
I think so.
Unfortunately, I think you're right about that. So Janelle will have a little help. We'll see if the bowlers need any help. It's Grand Island's version of Beat the Champ on Halloween weekend, and let's get rolling.
I'm here on Beat the Champ, week 3 at Grand Island Lanes. 3 champs. 3 weeks, 3 champs. What are you going to do to be the 4th champ?
Probably make my spares.
Very well said. There you have it. Look for Rob to continue his streak and be here in 2 weeks. I'm here on Beat the Champ with Tom Kress, one of the twins that we saw last month at Classic Lanes. So how did you get to the top this week?
I bowled qualifying on one of the Wednesdays, had a really good look, shot 744. Then I threw pretty well here in the top 9. I shot 279, then 250. Then I tried to miss the show by shooting 180, but held in there, and here I am.
So I hear we almost had another twin brother week, right?
Yeah, Ryan had a couple big games early and then fell off late, but he gave it a run. It was a good effort.
All right, well, as the one remaining Kress member of the family, have a good showing.
Thank you.
All right.
So here we go with match number 1. It's Rob Gattis, our returning champion, against Tom Kress to get things started here at Island Lanes, week number 3 of competition on Beat the Champ. Rob Gattis had that pretty unbelievable match a week ago that got him the victory over Joe Montanti Jr., his first ever Beat the Champ victory, and Sue will talk about that match in just a moment, but here we go with Rob Gattis. And that's
Great
a
job.
good start for Rob. So Rob Gattis on his way. We'll talk about that when Rob comes back up. Let's introduce you to Tom Kress first. Tom making his 2nd appearance here on Beat the Champ. 2 wins and 1 loss in his first appearance, but most notably, one of those 2 wins over his brother, Ryan. First time we had ever had a brother versus brother competition match here on Beat the Champ, and Tom wound up getting bragging rights in the Kress household.
Oh, there's that 8 pin again on lane 8. Yes, and twin brothers no less, right? So these guys are used to doing things together, and they almost made this show together. It was just a few pins that separated them from not making the show together.
I'm a little distracted by your hat.
It really? What
Just
hat?
a little bit. What hat? I'm a little, if a giant bowling pin wasn't distracting enough, now Sue is wearing odd hats. All right, so it's a...
It's my valiant attempt at Halloween costume.
I gotcha. You know, only you look good in that. Not very many others would, so...
It's black. Matches with everything I wear.
True. Good point. So, all right, so we're off and rolling here on match number 1. We saw Tom Kress just last month at Classic Lanes. That was where he made his debut here on Beat the Champ.
Great shot.
And there's a nice strike in frame number 2.
Oh, creepy pin's happy.
Yeah, that thing is going to be lurking around for the entire show. I did have to apologize to Rob, because if you remember the last match a week ago, it was the single pin that doomed him on a couple of different frames, and I apologized to him. I said nothing intentional by rolling out a giant single pin here to make you keep thinking about what happened in the last match. Of course, in that last match that Rob Gattis won over Joe Montanti, 201 to 171, Rob had 9 strikes and 3 opens because he couldn't hit that single pin on the spares. At Beat the Champ TV is our Twitter handle, and of course, follow us on the Beat the Champ Facebook page. All the information, highlights of qualifying, all the details about all the numerous opportunities for you to qualify for next month's shows at Billy Lane's in Bradford, Pennsylvania. Go to the Facebook page for all the information.
Well, we do know that Rob knows how to strike, because he's still keeping that going.
And here will be his first opportunity to show us he has shaken off that single pin issue with a spare opportunity on the 7 here in the 3rd frame. It was a very unusual scorecard for Rob in that match, and and to think that 9 strikes and 3 opens, so not a spare to be had anywhere in the match, was pretty bizarre and pretty wild to see that he won with that as well too.
Right. Well, the important thing was that he could come back and spare.
There it is.
Like, that's right there.
The last time we will mention any single pin issues.
Done.
It's done. Tom Kress is 21 years old. He is from Cheektowaga with a 213 average. He's a full-time student at UB, works part-time at Dairy Queen. Not sure that's going to continue very much unless he's at one of those ones that's open all year long.
Right.
Although, you know what? Sometimes in the middle of a cruddy winter day, there's nothing better than a dilly bar. Right?
A dilly bar, is that your thing?
Among them. I'm always good for a little twist cone with the little curly Q at the top.
You got it. Twist, love them.
All right, speaking of twists, you're going to need a little twist of the bowling ball to pull off that spare. Doesn't happen.
This feels like a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back with more action on Beat the Champ. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
I don't know. Strange things happen here on Beat the Champ, particularly on Halloween weekend.
That's right. People wear hats.
Then again, strange things happen on Beat the Champ all year long sometimes. But that's what makes it fun. Fun for us, fun for you at home watching.
That tells you something about bowling.
Not always fun for the bowlers, but fun nonetheless. So it's the 4th frame now for Rob Gattis, 2 strikes and a spare. And make it 3 strikes.
Great shot.
And a spare for Rob, who is 26 years old, from the town of Tonawanda, assistant manager at Gash's Market. Sue, you talked a lot last week about the fact that he does not bowl in any leagues. He bowls a lot of tournaments, bowls a lot, but doesn't bowl in any leagues. We're flipping around. Tom Kress bowls 4 nights a week in leagues all over Western New York, Transit Lanes, Brad Angelo Lanes, Broadway Sports Center. So a little contrast in the preparation for these 2 guys.
Right. I almost felt guilty about saying that, because I did make that early comparison to spare making, and then it seemed like a spare making debacle after that.
Well, that makes you good being a good analyst, because you told everybody what could be an issue, and it wound up being an issue. Not so much for Rob now, with 4 strikes and a spare through the first 5, and the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard. I see Janelle is not being distracted by giant mascots at the moment. That's good. Let's hope Tom isn't being distracted either. Boy, that thing did a complete 360 around the top of the 10 pin.
By all accounts, that looked like a great shot, but it's just how the ball's rolling into the pocket, and like you said, the 6 pin whipped around that 10.
And the curse of the single pin. So that's a 2nd open for Tom Kress in the first 5. Now, as we've seen, that doesn't necessarily mean you can't win, but
You're
it doesn't
right,
help.
But Rob had a lot of strikes going on too.
It doesn't help. And there's a
Great
good
shot
response
there
by Tom. 1 win and 2 losses, the overall record for Rob Gattis. This is his 4th appearance here on the show. Most of them, I believe, have come kind of in the last year. So he's been a guy that's been somewhat regular on our show here over the last 6 or 8 months.
But still relatively new to us, yeah.
Nice.
Well, you see the head shake there because he got that one way to the right of his target, but he did something right, hung in there. A little more spinny, stayed out a little longer, and worked out well.
Spinny, that could be a potential name for the mascot.
Spinny.
You like that, huh?
Oh, Spinny.
You like that? All right, we're off and rolling. Mike Mallwitz is going to have a little contest here to name the mascot, and
we're gonna name
Mr. Pin, Spinny, you know, Striker. You know, these are all suggestions. I just call him Mallwitz. I think that works for me too.
Very nice.
Don't forget our top qualifier in the round of 24 coming up at Billy Lane's in Bradford will win a television valued at $500 from Dirt Cheap TV. We do that every month here for qualifying on Beat the Champ. And again, lots of opportunities to make a little drive down to Bradford and qualify for next month's series of shows. A little stop in Ellicottville on the way,
Yep.
Admire the fall foliage. It's an hour-and-a-half drive or so, right easy down the 219 to Salamanca and over. So if you're a bowler and you want to check out a new place, Billy Lane's in Bradford for next month's series of shows. We'll be there in 2 weeks for our first broadcast.
It's a good excuse to take a ride out there and see something you normally wouldn't see.
8th frame now for Tom. Tom's got his mom and his dad, his sister, his girlfriend, friends and relatives here cheering him on. The only one he doesn't have is his twin brother. Maybe he's manning the counter over at Dairy Queen today.
Maybe.
And there's your 3rd open frame in this match for Tom Kress. So Rob Gattis with 6 strikes and a spare is in position to start pulling away for this one and get his 2nd win in a row. Next up, Gary Kinyon awaits the winner of this match.
And that is going to do it.
Wow, that's an early one.
That's an early.
After only 8 frames, we have a winner here, and it's Rob Gattis. And you can see on the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard that it has been an outstanding performance by Rob, and good for him for shaking off an odd win. Strange to say that, but an odd match in the last one to get to advance to this week's show. But that could mess with your head a little bit, a weird match like that with 3 opens, but it didn't prevent him from knocking down a lot of pins. So Rob Gattis is going to get the victory here over Tom Kress, his 2nd win in a row, and he will advance on to face Gary Kinyon. We'll talk to Tom, get you ready for that match when Sue and I return to a Halloween weekend edition of Beat the Champ here at Island Lanes on Grand Island. Rob Gattis was dealing in this match, a 278 to 188 win over Tom Kress. Not much you can do about it when Rob's throwing like that, right, Tom?
Yeah, started with the wrong ball in my hand and had a couple bad breaks the first 5 frames. Finally switched, made 1 bad shot in the latter half, but credit to Rob, he bowled really well today, and it's a tough one to lose, but we'll move on. Yeah, well, that's 2 months in a row that we've seen you, and there's always a good chance we're going to keep seeing you, so keep up the good work. Mike?
Thanks. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tom had a great showing. You and your brother, Ryan, did well as well. So, you can't hang your head, man, and the guy shot 278 against you, so sometimes there's not much you can do about that. But great job this month. Good. We'll see you soon.
All right, Tom, you can go hang out with him over here. I think he's looking, well, you didn't have to leave yet, but you can go hang out with him. He's looking for a new friend. So Mike and I will be back match number 2 from Highland Lanes right after this.
I'm here on Beat the Champ with Gary Kinyon. Gary, we've seen a lot of these young guns coming out, two-handers, people lofting it over the heads. 68 years old. How is it that you're still here competing on this show?
Well, I think overall my mental game's a lot better now. I recognize the lanes when they change, when I feel like I have to change balls because the lanes have changed. I'm making the right decisions. Like in the qualifying, I had a good first game, and then I couldn't strike, so I switched to a different ball in the 10th frame of the second game, and then I stuck with the third game, shot 279, made the cut.
So what we're saying is there's really no substitute for experience, right?
That is correct. That's very right.
Well, very well said, and good luck today, and hope that experience pays off.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Second match of the day is Gatas versus Gary Kinyon, and this should be a good one. Always fun to see Gary Kinyon, one of the great bowlers in Western New York. We'll get to see him in a moment, but Rob Gatas now off the big 278 performance will start things off. Rob looking for his third win in a row. He has upped his overall record now to 2-2 after he came in 0-2. And here we go.
Great shot.
And a good strike as he continues that trend of ending with 9 in a row as he did in the last match. So here's Gary Kinyon in his 7th different appearance here on Beat the Champ. An overall record of 5 wins and 5 losses. Last time we saw Gary on the show was in June at Manor Two Lanes when he won a couple of matches. And Gary will get to work on that spare ball right off the bat.
Good shot out of the gate. I mean, the lanes are a little maybe drier, but that was an excellent shot. One thing he said in our interview, are our hats throwing you off?
Yes. Yes, I'm so glad I'm the only one not wearing a hat. Let's welcome in Mike Mallwitz from here at Mallwitz's Island Lanes.
Happy Halloween weekend.
Yes, they're a little distracting, but like I said, I'm more than happy to be the only one not wearing one right now. We are quite in the holiday spirit here at Island Lanes.
That's what we
do.
do here. We have fun.
Well, I know we know that. Everybody knows that already. But yes, we are having fun already, aside from just the bowling that we're getting out here too.
So in our beginning interview, Gary and I were talking about how bowling has changed. We've got the two-handers, the young guns coming in. And at 68 years old, and he's still, somewhat making the show on a regular basis.
Oh, yeah.
And he attributed to experience still being something you can't match. He said he knows his game. He knows when to change bowling balls. He knows how to adjust, and he gives a lot of credit to experience.
Mike, we've talked a lot about this. There's been this, and maybe this isn't anything new, but there's been this shift in the sport of bowling to the power and the speed, whether it's the two-handers or the young guys that throw it so hard, and it's you still have to know the game. You have to think the game, and that's why a guy like Gary Kinyon is so successful.
I mean, that on top of, there's something to be said for consistency. Hitting your mark, doing the same, repeating shots over and over again, and that's what Gary's really, really good at, and that's why he's still, competitive after all these years.
Over 50 years of bowling in Western New York, there isn't an award, an honor, a tournament that Gary Kinyon hasn't won.
Yeah, do you have an hour we could read his bio
we
sheet?
do. I mean, yeah, it would be about an hour to read off all the incredible accomplishments. But, again, here you go with a younger guy like Rob Gatas, who is on a roll and who is pounding on those pins and knocking them all down. And you don't have to think very much, Sue, do you, when you can knock 10 pins down almost every time?
Well, it comes down to ball reaction, and great bowlers can not always rise to the top, even when they're bowling against someone with great ball reaction. And right now, Rob is just probably not someone you want to come up against because his ball reaction, his carry is just so good.
Yeah, I watched his last match, and like you said, his ball reaction's looking great right now. And we just jinxed him there on the 10th pin.
Well, that's the only thing that's going to stop him.
Right.
It's like his ball lays off. He doesn't have any real concerns about it going high, going light. He's just got a real nice, even ball that has, great carry potential.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't see Rob going high anytime soon. He's got a little extra tilt, with his axis, and that's going to kind of keep him on line the whole time. It's just a matter of carry, like you said.
And once Rob starts getting good at those spares like he has in the last two matches, that makes him even more dangerous.
He took a little mystery out by not leaving too many. I mean, that's only his second one in the second match of since last week.
From Lockport, New York is Gary Kinyon. You saw his age. I mentioned he's been bowling over 50 years. He still bowls 3 nights a week. Couple of nights at Alley Brandt Lanes, 1 night at Transit Lanes. 63 career, 300 games,
that was a good
35 career 800 series.
That's amazing.
There's Janelle Saban on the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard with the early results from this one between Gatas and Kinyon.
And we've gotten to a point now where the lanes have been bowled on quite a bit, and he doesn't have a super high ball speed, and yet still getting the ball to lay off. I mean, he's just very talented and knows how to pick a bowling ball.
Yeah, I mean, he can, between choosing the right ball and manipulating his release. I mean, Gary can pretty much stay in play no matter what the lane conditions are given.
Look at that.
2 in a row for Gary Kinyon.
Wonder what Gary's going to be for Halloween.
I want to know the last time Gary actually dressed up for Halloween.
Gary's going to be Carl for Halloween?
There's a resemblance between all of them there. They can pull it off. They're all brothers.
4th frame for Rob Gattis, the 26-year-old from the town of Tonawanda. Maybe all this successful bowling and hanging out here at Island Lanes will make him want to join a league here.
This looks like a good time to take a break. We'll be back with more Beat the Champ right after this. Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
I think Sue and I both prepare ourselves for what we may or may not be ready for on the drive up to Grand Island for a day's worth of recording here at Island Lanes. I didn't have to slow down on my way here. That's a nice added benefit for this year's version.
I love it.
I didn't slow down on my way to Grand Island.
It's great, isn't it?
It is great. It is great. Unless you miss that thing in the mail.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Pay the bill.
Yes. It's kind of changed the dynamic of living on here a little bit, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, like my wife's coming home from work, just breezes right across. Even when there is a backup, it moves faster than it did before. So I love it. It's great.
Good. Well, good for you and everybody else that calls Grand Island home. That was about time they got you to that point where you weren't penalized for living in such a great place.
Exactly.
Seventh frame now for Gary Kinyon. Don't forget, top qualifier for next month's round of 24 wins a television valued at $500 from Dirt Cheap TV. Qualifying still going on for next month's series of shows at Billy Lanes in Bradford, Pennsylvania. Check the Facebook page for all the dates and the details. And in 2 weeks, we will see you from our first trip out of New York State for Beat the Champ.
Have you ever been to Billy Lanes?
Going across state lines.
I have not. I'm gonna do my best to make it. I'm really excited that they're on board, and I look forward to going down there. It looks like Gary switched balls.
He did.
This ball rolled up a little sooner. Try to face up in the pocket a little better to get that 10 pin out, and it looked like it worked.
Didn't hook quite as much as he wanted it to at the end, did it?
That's interesting.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah. That
Were you surprised? Surprised it didn't react the way you thought it would?
Well, I watched the shot on 8, and it looked like it really read the mid lane very well. So yeah, I was surprised that just kind of floated the whole way down the lane.
One thing that happens with Gary is, because he does spend a lot of time with his hand on the ball. Sometimes he misses the hit a little bit, and I couldn't tell by his body language whether that was it, because he seemed surprised too.
Right.
That happened, because obviously if he missed the hit, he knows it.
You've talked about that a lot before when we've had Gary on the show, that the trade-off of his very deliberate approach is more time with the hand in the ball, more time for it to get hot, sweaty, swell, all that stuff.
Absolutely. In fact, I find it amazing that he can stay in the ball as long as he can and get out of it consistently.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. As soon as I put my hand in the ball, I want to go. Your hand starts to sweat. You just get that little bit of moisture on your thumb. Hard to come off clean.
So it's an open in the 8th frame for Gary Kinyon, surprising, and you saw his reaction. He was surprised as well, too. So another opportunity here for Rob to put it away, although not knocking as many strikes down as he was. And as soon as I say that, there's one in the 8th frame. It had been 3 consecutive spares for Rob Gattis. Winner of this match takes on Mike Zarcone for the final match of the week here at Island Lanes.
And what was once a close match is they're almost 30 pins now apart, and Rob just really has to stay clean at this point.
Yeah, if he throws this one good and strikes, that's gonna really make it tough for Gary to come back.
Great shot.
Back-to-back for Rob Gattis, and we go back to that final match of last week's show, Rob versus Joe Montanti, the sort of very unusual scoring in that match, and Rob struggling with the spares, and would have been easy to get down and sort of go in a hole, but he kept bouncing back with strikes, and it wound up a victory, and now look what it's done. It's propelled them on to 2 more in a row.
Right.
Yeah, for Rob to bounce back and shoot 278 after that was pretty good focus there on his part.
Yeah, after being able to be lucky to get a 201 win, to come back with the 278 and another respectable score here as well, too. But Gary's not going away, as Gary never will. So a nice strike there in the 9th frame for Gary.
Well, he needs them all to even make Rob, show up for the 10th frame. So might as well try to knock them all down at this point.
Yeah, I mean, if Gary sheets it here, he could put a little bit of pressure on Rob. Force Rob to mark, or not mark, but get good count.
So unable to grab that strike in the 10th frame means it's another win for Rob Gattis. That is 3 in a row for Gattis as he defeats Gary Kinyon. So now Rob will go for the weekly sweep here in the next match. But before we get to that, we'll talk to Gary and we'll get you ready for the final match of the day when we all return to Mallwitz's Island Lanes on Grand Island. More of Beat the Champ right after this. It's a win for Rob Gattis over Gary Kinyon. After all the pins that you've beat up in your life, I feel like this is some sort of odd revenge going on here. Right? You're a little worried about that?
Yeah.
Hey, you just could kind of get a whole string of strikes together. Is that what kind of caught up to you in this match?
Yeah, I could get to the pocket, but I just couldn't get the corners. Yeah, it was like a little high, a little light, and I just couldn't knock the corners down. That was the key.
Lots of action on these lanes so far. Are they starting to get beat up a little bit?
No, actually, they're holding up pretty good, I thought.
All right, well, good. That'll make Mike happy to hear, right?
Right? No complaining. I love it. Anytime somebody doesn't complain about the pattern, that's great news for me.
It's also a rare occasion sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yes, it is.
But Gary, great bowling.
Thank you.
You did good this month.
Thank you.
And here's some money.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for hosting the tournament.
I appreciate you coming.
All right, always good to get Gary Kinyon on the show. We know Rob Gattis is sticking around. He's got one more match to go. Mike Zarcone will be the opponent. I'm going to go hang out with my new buddy here. More Beat the Champ coming up right after this.
I'm here on Beat the Champ with a familiar face, Mike Zarcone. However, you were called to duty this week. To give us a little insight into how you got here.
Well, I bowled good in the first qualifier, and I was high. And first Sunday night, I couldn't get out of the gates, and then I'd be the alternate. And unfortunately, John injured himself, and I was brought into action.
So due to an injury to John Masiello, who was originally part of the top 9, we've brought in our alternate, who is also the winner of the Dirt Sheep TV, correct?
Yes, I was.
You enjoying that?
Sure. Always TVs can use some TVs.
How many TVs is that?
That's my 3rd one.
Well, that's attributed to some really great bowling, Mike, so I hope you continue it on today.
Thank you.
It's Rob Gattis and Mike Zarcone in our final match of the day here at Island Lanes. Can Rob Gattis win his 4th in a row and complete the weekly sweep? Or will the most successful Beat the Champ bowler put an end to the winning streak? That's what we're going to find out now. Rob Gattis, coming off that one that we've discussed, the 201 to 171 win, has now gone 278, 225 since then. So he's got himself in a nice little groove here, but anytime you bowl against Mike Zarcone, you better be at your best.
Nice shot.
And Rob starts off with a strike. Mike Zarcone is making his 27th appearance here on Beat the Champ, more than anyone else. 28 wins and 18 losses, the most wins and frankly the most losses of any bowler on our show in our nearly 3 years of being on the air. Mike is certainly the king of all Beat the Champ bowlers at the moment, and that's because he's incredibly consistent, incredibly good, and he knows how to rise to the occasion of the competition.
Right. He's arguably the best bowler in Buffalo, just out of sheer numbers and appearances and successes and things he bowls. I mean,
and you know, if you don't watch this show regularly and you kind of want to know what we're talking about, just watch Mike's sheer consistency. He's always in the right place. He never wavers. The style, the approach, it's always the same. It's been refined by thousands of hours of preparation and practice and competition, and that's why Mike's one of, if not the best in town. And off to a good solid start here. So we've seen Rob rise to the occasion of these matches, so there's no reason to think that won't happen here. And there's an early look at Janelle Sabin and the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard. 27-year-old Rob Gattis from the town of Tonawanda.
as his brother wanted us to know.
Yes, more than likely his younger brother, right? Isn't going to let his older brother get away with that. Just recently had a birthday about a month or so ago. So first two strikes for Rob Gattis gets him really off to the good start. Assistant manager at Dash's Market is the full-time occupation for Rob Gattis. 4 career 300 games and a high 826 series. And yes, even the graphics are correct now too.
Good shot.
And a good shot that will leave the 10 pin and give Rob some work on the spare ball. So it's been a fun 3 weeks here at Island Lanes. It always is. It's going to be fun next week too for our Island Lanes Championship, but the bowling has been terrific and it's been unpredictable, which I think is something we always get here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a good...
Not as unpredictable as your hat, but close.
It's been a good place to analyze bowling a little bit. You know, we got to analyze a little bit about lane conditions and scoring and carry. And it's always nice when you can use something visual to promote some insight.
We had Andy Reddick win a couple in the first show, then had Jeremy Zimmerman inch him out with a 226 to 225 win, but then Joe Montanti went on a nice little run and won 2 in a row before Gattis beat him 201 to 171 in that oddball match where Rob had 9 strikes and 3 opens and still came up with a win. So no one has been able to string together more than 2 wins in a row except for Rob, who's won 3 in a row now. And there's an open for Mike Zarcone in the third.
I did notice when I did the pre-game interviews that there was not the same champ any time. So we've definitely changed champs every single week. So it's been hard to establish a real rhythm of, you know, maintaining your shot, your ball reaction.
And that has as much to do with, as you've capably explained, just dealing with the conditions here at Island Lanes. Nice strike for Mike Zarcone. I feel like everybody that's had an open frame has bounced right back with a strike, which is exactly what you want them to do.
Exactly what you want them to do, yep. hard to have a hole against this guy, though, because Rob has been very, very consistent today.
Yep. 9 strikes in his first match, 9 strikes in his second match, 7 strikes in his third match.
That's a lot.
3 strikes already in this match. I think what we're clearly learning is that struggles that he had with the spare balls in that first match were an anomaly and not a part of his game that he struggles with. Because even he said he normally makes those spares. For whatever reason, 3 times he missed them, and he was still able to get the victory. 5th frame now for Rob.
Wow.
Yet another strike.
The action will continue on Beat the Champ in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
He strikes a lot. It's hard to say much about his spare shooting because he just doesn't shoot that much.
Hey, it's it's a nice problem to have if you're not as strong with your spare game because you don't use it as much. Mike Zarcone from Tonawanda, 50 years old. And Mike seems to be not doing what we normally expect to see from Mike.
No, that ball's hooking up on him. And I'm not sure what ball he's using. We'll have to talk to him later. But I do know through the grapevine that he came out and drilled a new hammer ball that, by all accounts, has been the talk of the bowlers. You know, sometimes a ball will come out and people
So
just,
it's literally a brand new manufactured ball that probably nobody else in town has?
Yeah, I see it. Well, I see a DV8 hammer on his sheet, and I just in the bowling centers from Bowling League, I've been hearing the talk about this ball, and that it seems like it's a really good, strong, good scoring ball. And the problem with that is sometimes you get caught in the trap of using it. Because it's so good and it's new and it's
I just spent all this money on it. I got to use it. I got to figure out. I got to force it to be good, right?
And
what is it about the ball that may be different than others?
You know what? I don't traditionally throw hammer balls. I don't know that much about them. So because people stay to staffs, and I tend to throw more global stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll have to ask a few questions about it and get some information.
6th frame now for Rob Gattis.
Great shot.
Boy, he is rocking and rolling. That is the 5th strike of the match for Rob Gattis. Don't forget, we will move in 2 weeks down to Bradford, Pennsylvania at Billy Lane's. Qualifying still going on there. The top qualifier in the round of 24 wins a television valued at $500 from Dirt Cheap TV. Mike Zarcone was the winner of the TV from here at Island Lanes. So feel free to head on over to Mike's house to watch either this show or any of 5 or 6 other TV offerings on all the other televisions that Mike has won.
Wow. That was a really crazy pinfall over there because the 7 and 10 went straight back.
I was too busy trying to make jokes. I wasn't even paying attention. We're looking forward to our trip down to Bradford. Paul Geiger, the proprietor down there. Also one of the 4 men who have bowled the 300 game here on our show. So Paul not only can do it on the lanes, he can manage the lanes as well too.
You know, it's kind of cool that he came to bowl in the competition and liked it so much that he decided to bring it to his bowling center all the way in Pennsylvania, right?
Yep.
So that's sort of that's complimentary to the show that somebody would feel like that.
So we're looking forward to that. That'll be in 2 weeks. Next week will be our Island Lanes Championship, and the hubbub and the buzz here at the center, that everybody warming up and getting ready for it. That should be a lot of fun. I know we'll keep Janelle on her toes, as always, working the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard. And a little slow motion on there, but they all fall, and that works for Mike Zarcone with a strike. So 8th frame now for Rob Gattis, working 4 strikes in a row. such a nice, easy stroke and such a nice, easy form for Rob Gattis.
This is one of those situations where you almost just want to get out of his way and let him bowl, because he's really been amazing today.
Rob is looking to cap off a 4-match winning streak and advance to next month's shows in Bradford, Pennsylvania. That'll happen to the winner of this match.
Look at that crew over there.
That is a crew if there ever was one. How about 6 in a row now for Rob Gattis? And Mike Zarcone is running to a buzzsaw here. 2014 Obenauer Masters champion is Mike Zarcone. Gonna ring that 10 there, and that's all part of a little bit of a frustrating match here for Mike Zarcone.
But he came up against somebody who's thrown 3 games and he's going to shoot 780 for those 3 games.
Yeah,
and that's a big number.
That's right. Not much you can do about that, no matter how good you are, no matter how many Hall of Fames you're in, and Mike's in a lot of them, just like Gary Kinyon. When you come up against a red-hot bowler like Rob Gattis is now, there's not much you can do unless you're gonna go toe-to-toe with him, and that's hard. And as you can see on the scoreboard, it's been another amazing match for Gattis. Mike struggled a little bit with that 10-pin, and
yeah, his ball reaction just was not great. So again, that's a giant number. He's looking at 279, so hard to beat that.
It has the potential to be our second 279 of our stay here, actually our third. Andy Reddick had a 279 2 weeks ago. Joe Montanti Jr. had a 279 2 weeks ago. And now a chance for Rob Gattis to do the very same thing here. So the final score goes on the board for Mike Zarcone, and that will be a 186. So let's see how Rob Gattis finishes this one out as he hits the 10th frame, already in control and on his way to a victory, but working 6 strikes in a row. Let's see if he can do another 9-strike match. There's 7 in a row. Man, it's fun to watch a guy who is just doing everything perfectly, isn't it?
Yep. He didn't let that spare little thing going on bother him. He bounced right back, and
I mean,
again, didn't leave too many.
Nope, he has not. And just everything looks great, perfect form, and the results are there. Every hit in the pocket where he needs to every single time.
He's left 6 spares in 3 games.
Wow.
And all single pin spares.
8 in a row for Rob Gattis. So 1 more to go for a final score and to celebrate a victory. And we will talk with Rob Gattis. We will talk with Mike Zarcone in just a moment. But let's watch it and enjoy it. An outstanding week here at Island Lanes from Rob Gattis of Tonawanda. We'll let him slide for not getting a strike to end it. Still a 278 score. Gets Gattis his 4th consecutive win. We'll come back to talk to both guys when Sue and I return to Island Lanes on Grand Island. More Beat the Champ right after this. It's a 4-match winning streak for Rob Gattis. Not much you can do, Mike Zarcone, when your guy who keeps rolling 278s like he did on you there.
No, I just didn't have a good ball reaction today. That's great. He bowled great today. He deserves it.
Yeah, well, we know we're going to get Mike back on this show pretty quickly, if not next month as well, too. It's always good to see you, even if it's only for a brief amount of time.
It's okay. It's always fun. I enjoy it.
Yeah. Mike?
You know, although he did shoot 278, I still think he dodged a bullet because it's not often we see a bull like that, but you know, it's always good to see you, and great bowling this week, this month. Here's a consolation prize.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sue?
We mentioned at the top of the show that
So far this month, there hasn't been a return champion here at Island Lanes, and we decided you were going to do it by making your spares, and it worked out, didn't it?
Right. Yeah, I'm throwing a lot of strikes too. That helped.
Yeah, that's true. You only shot 6 spares for the whole day, but 781 total. Great bowling today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice bowling from Rob.
Yeah, well, he's saving all the words for the next week, because 2 weeks, because he knows he's going to be back there as well too. Rob Gattis on a 4-match winning streak. He'll be joining us in 2 weeks down in Bradford, Pennsylvania. Sue and I will come back to wrap up this week's show and get you ready for what should be a really fun show next week, right, Mike?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Mike says oh yeah. We're back with more Beat the Champ right after this. Well, you can be a man of few words like Rob Gattis if the only word you need to use is win.
Absolutely, and he did that and threw a lot of strikes, made up for whatever happened in that other match, and we finally got a return champion to head down to Bradford with.
I think the most amazing thing about Rob is that was a very difficult opening match with the 3 open frames. Hasn't bothered him for a second since then.
No, and you can tell by his demeanor that he really just brushes stuff off and came back with a 781 total pins for the day.
Yeah, as he sweeps the week here at Island Lane. So Rob will join us in 2 weeks down in Bradford, Pennsylvania. Next week is our Island Lanes Championship. I fear for you. I'm worried about you on this one.
Well, you know, this is the 3rd time we've had an Island Lanes Championship, and I think I'm very well versed in it by now. So I'm ready for anything and everything Mike Mallwitz and that whole big gang will throw at me.
It will be Mallwitz. It will be a big gang. It will be a lot of fun. Make sure you join us for that next week on Beat the Champ.